Ducks fans, are you ready? You are listening to the Ducks and Pucks podcast. This is the #1 home for Anaheim Ducks talk and analysis. Here we go.
Welcome to the show. This is your host, Mike Walters, along with my co-host, Eddie Richard. And we have an interesting show for you this week. The Ducks were scoring all kinds of goals on their homestand. They won 3 out of 4 of those games. And, well, the goals kind of disappeared as far as this road trip went. But we'll get to those games. We'll talk a little bit about the IIHF and what's going on there with some maybe flag hockey. Maybe we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Gibson, some of the injuries with the players and whatnot, some fan questions as well, also our weekly poll that we'll get to. But before we start, just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Thanks for listening to the show. If you're listening on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, like I said, Merry Christmas, and hope you guys all have a safe and happy holiday. So with that, Eddie, we were on the last show, and we were all excited. The Ducks were scoring, and then they go into this road trip. And, well, they started out okay. They went into Columbus, and they ended up winning this game. They didn't score as many goals, as we were seeing in some of these other games where they were averaging 4 goals at home. But they ended up winning this game, and they also won the one against Pittsburgh, where they got 4 goals as well. So some good start here, at least, we'll get to the other games, not so good. But the Ducks went into this road trip. They beat the Blue Jackets. And as we talked about in the last show about the Sprague trade, it ended up, working out, at least for now, is what we're seeing. And, he had 2 goals in this game, the overtime winner. The Ducks did get down to begin this game 1-0, but they ended up pulling this one out. Eddie, what did you think about the Ducks starting the road trip in Columbus?
Well, besides getting a headache off hearing that stupid cannon or watching the game, I think the Ducks did pretty well. But it was all the goalies that took all the attention. Bob over there in Columbus and then Gibby over here for us in Anaheim. They just stole the show, and they were relentless. They were playing extremely well. It just was one of those games where, there was no goals in the second or third period. It was just all the goalies. It was really fun to watch both of them play, and they made some amazing saves. I believe Sprague, I think he hit the post. So I'm not 100% sure. It was all last week, and a lot's happened, before, or from now to then. But him shooting from the angle, that first goal was like, holy hell, he did it again. And I don't know if he just what's going on. He probably got an A in geometry or something like that to get those angle shots. And he's a good scorer at those angles. And me personally, if I saw him at the bar playing pool and he wanted to go head to head with me on a bet, I probably wouldn't play him. He's so good at those angles. It's good to see him get another goal, his second goal. Second with the Ducks too as well. Manson got the assist on that. Beautiful angle shot. But then after that, it was all the goalies. And then that third period, and really what on the Ducks side, this game was a 66.1% face-off percentage they had compared to the Blue Jackets' 33.9%. That plays a big factor into the game. Look at overtime when Henrique won the face-off, got it back to Sprague, and he actually scores a normal goal up the middle, which that's usually where goals are scored, and it goes in, and we win the game. So it was a really good fought effort, especially, to beat those goalies and the game they were having was do something special. So I'm really glad that he was able to get that on his wrist shot. I thought the Ducks would, after this game, would go off and have a successful road trip. They were outshot, but each period they had 7 shots. In the first, second, and third, 777, I think it's a lucky number, right? So I was hoping for, a nice little road trip, but it didn't really go the Ducks' way after that. But for that game, we were holding our heads high and celebrating a nice little win, and we're expecting to start off the road trip pretty strong. But we'll talk about the rest later. But overall, I love this game. This was my favorite game, especially watching the goalies.
Yeah, like you said, it was a goalie duel in this game. Not a lot of goals were scored. Obviously, they had to go to overtime and, get this one done with a 2-1 victory. And, the Ducks were rolling at this time, though. They had won 8 of their last 9 games. They had won their 5th straight road game at this point. And, Sprague recorded his career high, that he hasn't scored 2 goals in an NHL game before. So that was, a big thing for him as well. And also the Iron Man, Andrew Cogliano, played in his 900th career regular season game, which I'm still holding the record for him. And I know a lot of people were talking about that too, Eddie. Even though he wasn't able to play in a couple games, which we'll actually reference some of that later too, and we talk about some other hits around the league. But he's been eligible to play in 900 games at this point, and he's done so, and obviously played the rest in this road trip as well. So some records and some things set there. Some good stuff to start the road trip. Like I said, it wasn't a dominant performance. They didn't blow Columbus out of the water, and yeah, you only had to hear that cannon one time. So it was good. The Ducks kept rolling. And then they had to go into Pittsburgh, and they also had to play New York. And we had talked about the last show, which goalie was going to face which team. And we figured out that Gibson would go against Pittsburgh, and then Chad Ochocinco Johnson would go against the New York Rangers in the follow-up game. So in the game against Pittsburgh, it didn't look very good for the Ducks in the beginning. You had Malkin scored. You had Rust, one of the guys we did talk about. If the Ducks would look at maybe trading or whatnot, and you can listen to all of that. Again, on the last show, we talked about possible trade targets, and we'll do that as the deadline comes up closer. But Russ got that second goal, and it was 2-0 Pittsburgh, and you thought, uh-oh, here we go again. We talked about Gibson and how sometimes he has some rough games against the Penguins, but the Ducks turned it on in the second period. You had Henrique, Sherwood, and Kesler all scoring, and you had Getzlaf getting, the last-minute one there in the third just to put the icing on the cake. But another comeback win, Eddie, and the Ducks extended their road winning streak. And, at this point, they had won 9 of their last 10 games.
Oh, yeah. When I first watched the game, I was like, oh, man, I wanted Gibson to start like we talked about in the last show. I thought he'd be fire up, especially that he hasn't really had that much success against Pittsburgh. And I was just, hoping that he'd come out really strong. But then those first 2 goals we're down 2-0. I'm like, oh, man, it's going to be one of those games. Damn it. I should have just said the other thing in the show. Maybe I can ask you to go back and edit the show and just edit that part out or something. But the Ducks showed fight. And they I want to reference the Dark Knight movie when Batman and Joker first meet. And he's the Joker has that his girl, Rachel. And he's like, oh, you have some fight in you. I like that. And then Batman comes in. You're going to like me. That's how I felt this game went. Because, the Ducks came back and they came out swinging hard and they won. Henrique came up. It was Henrique, Sherwood, Kesler, and Getzlaf. It's awesome game. The Ducks outshot Pittsburgh Penguins. And the Penguins are known for that elite team. They have arguably one of the best players in the National Hockey League and in the world. I mean, it's been proven, that already. It was a decent physical game. Ducks, hit the Penguins 30-29, but they didn't really let the Penguins really take advantage of them or set up or get those empty spaces. They were all up on the Penguins. The Penguins made some errors too on that game. By just having to prematurely pass the puck because knowing that the Ducks were going to be on them. The Ducks weren't chasing this game. They were just playing positional hockey, and it worked out for them. And, fortunately, the Ducks didn't take their foot off the gas, and they were resilient in this game. And this is the kind of game I'd love to see the Ducks play. This is the kind of game the Ducks are known for, those comeback kids, that comeback style. And, yeah, they didn't start off too great. They weren't playing that bad. They weren't great, but they came back and played the rest of the game a full game, and look what happened. They won, and it was a really big win. And I'm pretty sure John Gibson can help hold his head high on this game as well. He was a third star of the game, but I mean he kept the Ducks in it too. He was making a lot of good saves after that. He was just shutting down the Penguins, and I think that goalie off, or that monkey off your back. I don't know what goalies call it. Maybe it's, I don't know, whatever animal off the back for goalies. But I think he kind of got over that bad luck and bad play against Pittsburgh. And hopefully next time they come in, he plays even, that much better. But it was a good win, and I was happy about this one.
Yeah, I mean, the comeback kids in this game, after the first period down 2-0, are able to rally back and win this one. They continued in the faceoff circle too, dominating in this game, 59% to 41%. And the Ducks shot blocked Pittsburgh too, 17-13. And like you mentioned too, the turnovers in this game, Pittsburgh had 12 giveaways or turnovers in this game, which was it was a factor in there too. And I like just the way the Ducks played in that second period. We talked about second periods and how problematic they've been for this team. And the Ducks came out right away. They got that early power play goal by Henrique. Sherwood with the missile, basically, of a goal, which was just fantastic. Cosse, as we talked about, has been heating it up. He had his hat trick on that homestand. He keeps doing his thing. So this was a good game overall for the Ducks. And this road trip and all, you're like, okay, we talked about it. It's a total of actually 6 games, but you got the holiday break in the last game against San Jose. So they're playing 5 of these games. Then they'll go face the Sharks for 1 game before coming back home. So they look good in these first 2. And you thought, okay, they're playing good. They're, like we said, a little bit of a slow start against Pittsburgh. They were able to rally and come back and win that game. And, at this point, too, the Ducks, that was their 12th comeback win, which was tied for second in the NHL at this point in time in this game. And obviously the Ducks had their winning streak. They kept going and going. So you thought, okay, they're going to face New York the next night, Chad Johnson and net. You thought, okay, they can keep this rolling, right? And they can win. And they actually played okay in this game in the beginning. They got the lead in the second period by Pontus Aberg, and they were ahead 1-0 after 2 periods of play. And they played, a decent game. They weren't necessarily dominating the Rangers, but they seemed fine. And then in the third period, Eddie, the Ducks just ran out of steam. And, they gave up a goal in the middle of the period. It was tied. Then they had a power play chance towards the end of the game. And you thought, okay, the Ducks are going to win, get another goal and win this one 2-1. Instead, they give up a shorthanded goal. And then, the empty net goal, which whatever at that point, there's only 18 seconds left or whatever. But this one was just kind of disappointing. You thought that they had it, even when they got that late power play, maybe a chance to come back in the third period. But they really couldn't get any shots or anything going in the third period. And they just looked really tired to me, Eddie, playing in the back-to-back game.
Oh, definitely. You can tell they were playing that back-to-back. Fatigue caught up to them. They all lost steam. It's really hard to criticize and blame them as much as you want to. I mean, they pretty much played the best of their ability and the best of, of their physical capabilities. For most of the game, that last 40 seconds of the game when they lost the lead, it just went downhill from there. But fatigue came up for them. Hayes had that breakaway on the Ducks power play. Unfortunately, he went short side on Johnson, and the rest is history. It's unfortunate for the Ducks. I really think they deserve this game. They came out and scored first. They looked real good to start it off, but it just went downhill from there. And it's unfortunate for this game that they lost, as they started off really, heating up the first 2 games against the Blue Jackets and the Penguins. But hey, I mean, it's back to back, so we really can't ask for more. At least we, it wasn't a blowout. We were, kept them. We were in the game for a while. Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco. I get that joke finally, but yeah, he looked really comfortable in net. Like usually goalies when they play their first game with their new team, I mean, they're just filling it out. He looked relieved. Like, just watching his facial expressions too as well. He just looked calm and cool. So, I mean, I think overall he played a great game, but, I mean, you're giving up 14 shots to your 1 shot in the third period. I mean, what's going to happen. Go from there. It's not going to really end in your favor. So, I mean, the Ducks just ran out of steam this game, and we're all hoping for next game that they play, it'd be something different, and we'll go into that next.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just to finish off this game, like you talked about, the big thing was the Ducks did outshoot New York 14-10 through the 2 periods. And then in the third period, only 1 shot on net. So, I mean, that's just not going to get it done. I did think that they could get at least 1 point, especially when they got that power play in the end. And then they gave the shorthanded goal. I was like, uh-oh, this isn't going to work out. And they did have – they won the faceoff battle again, like we talked about. They've been killing it in the faceoff circle. They're at 64% in this game to 33. So it was, they were good in there. And then special teams, both teams struggled on the power play. Ducks had 5 chances, could not score. New York had 3. So that was probably the tail of the tape in this game as well. And the Ducks record too, they had been undefeated when they had the lead after 2 periods of play. This was the first time that they had lost when they were leading going into the third period during this season. So a little unfortunate, into that streak there too as well. So like you said, the Ducks then would play Boston. Gibson back in net, another tough battle. We see what would happen in this game, and the special teams came to play in this one. The Ducks gave up 2 power play goals in the second period. They couldn't really rally after that. Boston got another early goal in the third, and that was really it. I mean, they were up 3-0 for a while. Josh Mahura did score, and it was his first NHL goal, which was probably the lone bright spot in this game. But the special teams play really killed the Ducks in this one. The Bruins power play ranked 5th in the league. It's got 2 out of 4, conversions with the extra man. The Ducks had 4 chances themselves, couldn't get anything done. And that's the way it looked. This wasn't really a good game, honestly. I would say out of the 5 that we are talking about in this current road trip, for me, Eddie, this was the worst one for Anaheim.
Oh yeah, they came out this game flat. It pissed me off. I have a lot of friends I was in the military with that are from Boston, and of course they love to talk shit. So once the score came up, they right away said that's why hockey doesn't belong in SoCal. Blah blah blah. They're just running their mouth with little "ka" and stuff, and how they say that crap. That bothered me more too. Just my friends talking crap, but the Ducks didn't play well. They didn't have it this game, and at first I was okay. You know what? New York, they lost that. They come to Boston, they lose that. They had their bad game on the road trip. Things are going to go up from there. We're going to start winning. Pasternak opened up the scoring, and I can't believe he was a 25th draft pick in that 2014 NHL draft. We took Richie number 10. Just imagine if we just flipped that and had him on the team right now with the Ducks. He's a great player. But yeah, the Ducks didn't come to play. It was cool to see Mahura getting his first NHL goal. Congratulations to him. Really mature kid. Said in one of his interviews that he's planning to give his, game or his first goal puck to his family. So that's really good. And he didn't really want to celebrate it too much because of the score. So I love the maturity level of that. And yeah, I'm pretty sure he was ecstatic to score that goal. But just to have that, professionalism to hold back, knowing that, you're losing still to do that. So his family's going to have, I think, one of the best, Christmas presents they can ever get on that game goal puck right there. So congratulations to that. That was the only good thing about that game, where I wasn't totally upset, like, oh, I'm about to throw my everything I have in my possession. But the Ducks really need to step it up. But once you mentioned before about their face-off percentage, they did, outperform the Bruins, going 55.4% in this game. And I like seeing that because, face-offs are one of those things that people really don't think that are important, but they are. Just winning the face-off can create a lot more opportunities and deny chances for the other team.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, they keep winning in this face-off circle, and that's been the good thing. This game, it kind of reminded me of the Ducks more towards the beginning of the season. It seemed like they just were getting a lot more perimeter shots. They weren't really getting in the net as much. Like you said, special teams has kind of been an issue as of late, especially in some of these games. They did out-hit the Bruins, but a big thing was they had 20 turnovers in this game. I don't care who you play. You can't have 20 turnovers and expect to win. So, Mahura got the last goal at the end, but they were already down 3-0 at that point. So I am happy for him. And he joins another group of players that have gotten their first goal this season. You had Max Comtois, Kiefer Sherwood, Sam Steele, and Ben Street. They all had their first goals this season too. So I'm happy for him and happy for, like you said, with his family and everything, with him getting that puck and giving it to them. So the Ducks just didn't come to play in this one. This was the worst game. There's just not much to really go over on this one. I just didn't see a lot of effort in there. I didn't see as much going towards the net, a lot of skating on the perimeter and staying to the outside. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out in this one. And like you said, Pasternak, he had his 22nd goal in this game. He's just killing it. So the Ducks weren't able to rebound after that loss to New York. Then they went in to play Buffalo for the final game before the Christmas break. And This game, the Ducks ended up losing, 3-0. They gave up another power play goal in the first period. But, I thought they deserved a better fate in this game, though, Eddie. They really turned it on in the second half. They did outshoot the Sabres 40-33 in this game. They won the faceoff battle again, as we keep talking about. But I thought they played a lot better in the second half, and they just came up short. I mean, Skinner getting a goal, and then obviously, Sherry adding it to the end with the empty net. But the Ducks, it's just frustrating. I thought they could have at least tied this game up with the way that they started the third period. They hit the post, had a lot of great chances early on, and they just couldn't get that tying goal. And then when Skinner got that one to make it 2-0, the Ducks just couldn't get back into it. So, frustrating that they lost this game, but I definitely like the effort compared to the Boston game.
Oh, definitely. I was nervous watching this game too and covering this game. Like under a minute into the start of the first period, Ducks gave up 4 shots. Jack Eichel just came in there, or Eichel came in there and, good shot, crashed the net, drove it. Gibson made some key saves early on in the game. And at first I was like, okay, Ducks, let's not like repeat that, Carolina first game where you gave up all those shots so fast and you just, no. But you're right, though. In the second half of the game, the Ducks turned it up, and especially in the third period, Ducks were a whole different team, and they came out, out shooting them, 15-3, and they controlled most of the puck. They didn't give Buffalo the spaces. The first period, they were just chasing the puck. They looked like a beer league team, not knowing how to play, just following the puck wherever it went, not really following the players or playing positional hockey. So that was kind of frustrating. They got into penalty trouble, which, came back and bit them in the tail, on the second one. But, in the third, they gave it all their got, and they should have won this game. And at some points, I thought Ducks were going to come back and score. It just felt like, okay, a goal's going to come. They hit the post twice already. Like, something's going to happen. But unfortunately for the Ducks, it didn't. And they didn't convert on the power play either. They Buffalo took three penalties, including there's one in the second, which Zach, also I'll call him Bozo. He was playing like a bozo today, but he took I believe it was a tripping call toward the end. But Ducks had possession. They got the last shot, and I'm not sure if they shot and the play ended. But we had that 2-minute power play to start the third period, and Jake Dotchin, he gets a game misconduct. I really don't know what happened, but he tried to, chirp at Bozo over there after Getzhoff and him are going at it. The refs apparently told him to, to pretty much shut his mouth and leave, and he kept going and gets that game misconduct. I think the refs are a little bit, I don't know, they're a little bit weird tonight by those calls, especially with the Ducks, getting all those penalties at first. But, yeah, the Ducks just kind of like let their foot off the gas and gave Skinner an opportunity, and you can't give Skinner that opportunity. He's second in the league in goals for a reason, only behind Alexander Ovechkin, and he makes the Ducks pay, and they go up 2-0. Ducks try to take a chance, pull their goalie, and nope, no tomatoes on that. And we end up taking this game a loss, and I believe this is the only eighth time that the Ducks got shut out by Buffalo. And Olmark, this is his first time ever facing the Ducks. So, he made a big impression. I know he's a bigger goalie. We weren't making him really move that much until the third period. And then we started bringing it the fire to him. And especially on that power play, we had Adam Henrique almost score a goal as well. He hit the empty net, but Jake McCabe came over there and blocked it toward the end. So if one of those lucky bounces the post or that would have went in, maybe this would have been a different game, especially how the Ducks were playing in the third period. But I think the Ducks, they played the second half well. They came to play. I keep saying it. I'm going to keep repeating it because it's the truest statement in hockey. And for those that play at any level and those that watch it a lot, you know this. You can't come in and play, you can't play a half a game. You can't play this 60-minute game only 30 minutes because this is exactly what happens. And who knows if the Ducks would have came with that intensity and that fire from, the start of the game. And, this game could have easily been 3-0 for the Ducks. But, unfortunately, we have to go on this holiday break knowing that we lost and we have quite a few ways away to wait to the next game. This game could have got us in second place in the Pacific Division, leap passing the Sharks. But unfortunately for us, Jeff Skinner had to come in and be Mr. Hero of the third period.
Yeah, and for the Ducks, like you said, now they're tied for third with Vegas, but Vegas has the tiebreaker. They've got more of the regulation and overtime wins. So, that hurts. I mean, the Ducks are basically now in the wild card spot. I mean, it's going to be tight. It's, all the way down. We know that that's the way it's going to be. I guess, one good thing that did come in this game is we did see Sprague and we did see Montour in this game. They both went out towards the end of the Boston game. Montour did come back in, but he took a hard hit, went out, and then Sprague actually got some stitches. He's cut his face going into the boards at the very, very end of the game. So they both were in this game. At least the Ducks did not get any more, injuries on this road trip, despite going 2-3-0 in this one. And I guess the big thing is like we said, they were winning the faceoffs, but the power play. The last 3 games they had one power play goal against Pittsburgh, but in the last 3, you go 0 for 9 in those power plays, and that's going to kill you. And then you also give up power plays. So special teams not working out so well for the Ducks here recently in these games. And like you mentioned, Eddie, they did still have a chance to be in second, but now they got knocked down, and now they're sitting there basically in the wild card spot because, like we said, Vegas does have the tie break in this one. So frustrating, but they did play better in the second half of the game. And like you said, I thought that if they would have gotten a goal early in the third period, I think that they would have at least gone to overtime, maybe if not have won this game. And when they didn't do that in the first 10, 11 minutes and Buffalo got their second goal, then, the Ducks still kept the pedal to the metal here, but, they just could not come back. So a little disappointing end there, like we said, the road trip, they ended up going, winning 2 and losing 3. So they're going to have this Christmas break, and it's going to be a big game, Eddie, when they play San Jose.
Oh, definitely. We saw one more good thing in this game. Sorry to interrupt you right there a little bit, but we all know hockey players are some of the best athletes in the world, and sometimes they have a hidden talent, which makes them like a dual athlete. Jeff Skinner could be a professional diver because in that second period, when he tripped over Cogliano's stick, he dove perfectly on that ice, and I can't believe there's no embellishment on the way he just threw himself and dove that way. So congratulations to Jeff Skinner on being that that diver. Maybe one day when the Olympics come back, he can join the Olympic diving team and win a gold medal. For that. But I mean, I want to throw that out there because that kind of bothered me. Okay, I get it. Cogliano lost the stick. You tripped over. You're most likely going to get a penalty. But I mean, the way he just threw himself the body like that, come on, man, have some more self-respect. And then the refs like to call this embellishment call, and it seems like for some reason it goes against the Ducks a lot. But I mean, there was no call on Jeff Skinner there, and that kind of bothered me. I don't think that should have been a penalty at all. I mean, yeah, maybe a penalty, but it should have been, an equal penalty since, Jeff Skinner made that effort to make that diving motion and make that apparent. So, I mean, well, regardless, we still lost, and I'm still bitter, and I'm just probably talking a little more crap, but I mean, most of us watch the game. If not, go back and watch that play. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about from Jeff Skinner.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, Hayward and Allers were talking about it too, and they were talking about how he was like a championship, ice skater. I can't remember if it was high school or college or whatever it was. They were talking about how he was so great at skating, and then on top of that, you see him, flop like that. So I agree with you 100%. I saw that play too, and I was just like, really, dude? And like you said, if you're going to call that, either you call nothing or you call trip and diving. I mean, that's my take on that. But yeah. Ducks ended up losing that one, and like we said, they're going to have a big game against San Jose coming up, which we are going to have a watch party at El Ranchito in Orange, and we'll post some more stuff on social media as well, so we hope you can get out and see that after the holiday break. We'll hang out. We'll have some giveaways, too. I've got some autographed hockey sticks and a few other things that we'll be giving away, kind of upping up the prizes for those of you that come, too, as well. So, look for that, coming out of the holiday break. But this week's poll question that we talked about the goalies too on this road trip, Eddie. And we actually threw out the poll question about Gibson. Last season, Gibson started in 60 games, and we threw it out there to see what people thought. If they thought he would start in more than 60 games, or would it be 60 or less? And, it's pretty high here. It's like 75% to 25%. It's been going between that and close to 80% of you think that he will, in fact, play 61 or more games, which I think that would have maybe been a little bit different had Miller not gone down with injury. We know Miller is out projected for 6 weeks. And, him being out and then the Ducks getting Chad Johnson in there. Right now Gibson's started in 30 games out of the 38 this season, so he is on pace just to be a little bit more than 60. But looking at this, I think it would have been a lot closer though if Miller would have been healthy for the entire season, Eddie.
Oh yeah, same here. We had trust in Miller. We saw him play. Even games he lost, we had that confidence in him to be that reliable backup goalie because he still played well the games he lost. The Ducks just failed to score and play their game. Um, I agree with the percentage. I believe that Gibson, especially now, will play that 60 game mark plus. Do I like it? Not really. Um, he played in 60 last season. Before that, he had 52, and he's just increasing his gameplay. And yeah, I understand. Like he's a great goalie. He's at that level where we want him to play every single game, but he's human too. He's not he's not Superman. He's nothing more than just flesh and bone, just like most of us and all of us. I said most of us, thinking like there's aliens listening to the show. If they are, you know what? Hey, thank you guys. Invite us to Mars one day. But yeah, he's gonna play that. And what worries me is he might get too fatigued and he might get injured come playoffs. And we all know how it is losing Gibson in playoffs. I hope Johnson, when he gets his next start, really finds his groove and makes those impossible saves, even if the Ducks aren't playing their best, and kind of proves that he can be that backup goalie to take on some games and take on that responsibility, especially how long Ryan Miller is going to be out. But, I mean, it doesn't really seem like the Ducks are really going to put that trust in him as of right now, so I really can see that, him playing that, and I just hope that he doesn't get injured, knock on wood, and I hope he can just maintain his level of play come playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the way Gibson's been playing, he's been like in the top 5 in a lot of the categories, and the defense has played better, obviously, in these last couple of weeks. They haven't, been hanging him out to dry as much. But yeah, that's my concern too. Is I think he can definitely play over the 60 games. I'm just concerned that they're going to lean on him too much come to stretch, in the coming months when we get down to March and obviously in April with the playoffs and whatnot. So that's my issue. I think he will do 60 plus. The only way I could not see that happening is if Miller does come back sooner than expected, but he's got that knee injury and he's supposed to be out, like they said, projected 6 weeks. So that's unfortunate. So we'll have to see how it goes. But that was our poll question for this week. And, each week we kind of will do a different one and, analyze what you guys think and get your thoughts and whatnot. But majority of you do think he will play over 60, which would be the most for him in the regular season. So with that, too, we've got a couple fan questions as well this week. And these are some good ones, actually. I think one of them was a big topic we talked about on the last show, Eddie. We were talking about Ryan Kesler. We talked about who's hot and who's not. And you brought up how he's, been not hot. And basically, he's only had one goal in like the last 5-6 weeks. Also only one assist, too. So he hasn't been doing a whole lot. But one of our fans asked Justin, he said, do you guys think Kesler will ever get warmed up? Seems like he's not the same since his hip surgery. And I agree with that. I mean, we've talked about it, Eddie. You look at some of the numbers and the things that have gone on. He's just not the same. I mean, it's, offensively, I think the issue I see there is he's not really going to the net as much. We know Silverberg has been scoring some goals, so I think he's been passing to him. Silverberg, has 9 goals on the season. Kessler's just sitting there at 4 goals. So I think that's part of it that we've seen. He's still been doing fine in the faceoff circle. He's, almost at 56%. So he's been winning it there. And I think defensively, the line's still playing okay. Overall, they are a plus minus of -12. Kesler is, which isn't great, but obviously that's not necessarily going by, the Corsi stats and whatnot. If you're just looking at plus minus for goals, for and against when he's on the ice, that's where he's at. So that's where I look at it. I still think he's doing good in the faceoff circle. I think he's been fine defensively, but offensively, I just think he's been passing the puck a little bit more than normal, and I don't see him crashing the net as much as he used to in the past. What do you think, Eddie?
Yeah, same here. I agree. Something's up with his game. He's not playing that normal Kesler, hard nosed, crash the net, win the battles like he is. I don't know what's going on with him. He needs to heat it up. Like I've said in the last episode. If you guys want to, we can divulge into that. You guys listen to the last show, but I don't know, maybe he's hurt. Still, who knows? And I really hope that's not the case. And I really hope that, if that were, he wouldn't be playing right now because he needs to get better. He also has 17 giveaways this season and the 34 games he played. And he had 21 giveaways last season in 44 games. So he looks like he's going to surpass that number in giveaways as well. So he's not, when he has the puck, it seems like it's going off the stick pretty quick. And I just, if I can ask, if I can ask Santa for anything, I'd ask him to get Kesler back, to start getting warmed up and get hot and put up those numbers that he's supposed to be putting up and get into those zones and create chances and just make it hell for the other teams as well, like by his, physical play and make it hell for the goalies when he goes and crashes the net. And like I said, the other players too, when he crashes the boards.
Yeah, I think part of it too is, in the beginning of the season, he was looking forward to playing Nashville, right? His arch rival, our favorite player over there, right? The favorite team as well.
Yeah, freaking, Nashville Banners.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was a motivation for him in the beginning of the season because he seemed to come out kind of strong and all that. Well, the Ducks, they don't play Nashville in December. They don't play them in January. They don't play them in February. The Ducks actually don't play them again till March 12th. So maybe some of that motivation he had, going in against the Predators and stuff like that early in the season got him spark plugged a little bit. And, he hasn't had that. So he's not going to see that team again, for another 3 months. So I don't know, Eddie. Maybe it's because he, doesn't have that rivalry motion too, to kind of give him an extra push. I don't know. What do you think? They're not going to be seeing the Predators for a few months.
Well, I would really hope that's not the case. Yeah, I get it. You have that rivalry. It seems like you don't like a certain player as players on, the Predators. I don't want to say his name because I'm having a pretty good night, so I don't want to just ruin it by saying his name. So he bothers the crap out of me. But I don't know. I hope he should have that motivation to play and get the Ducks winning and score a goal. I mean, what hockey player that plays hockey doesn't want to score a goal, doesn't want to contribute to the team and help them out? I hope it doesn't take all the way, till the next time we play the Nashville Predators for him to get a spark again. I just really hope he gets everything figured out what's going on if there's anything, or I just hope that he just starts playing, a harder style and he gets to those areas and starts creating chances. If it takes for him to be dropped down to the fourth line to get that spark again, we've seen it done with Perry playing on the fourth line, and once he got dropped down for some reason, he just produced and he got that spark in to get back up. I just don't know what needs to happen with him, and I hope he figures it out soon, especially for his own sake, because I'm pretty sure he doesn't like being on this little slump he is, and also for the Ducks' sake to get some more wins and get some more points, and just have that physical, hard-nosed player back in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he's always wanted to be motivated and playing against all kinds of different teams. So hopefully he finds that against, the opponents coming up here in the new year. One other little stat too, the Corsi 4 stat is for him is 44.98, which isn't that great. As far as the stats go, you want to be over 50% because that usually means that you're controlling the puck and having more opportunities for your team. But right now he's less than 50%. So that means when he's out there on the ice, the other team's actually having better chances, whatnot, which is not good, and obviously the minus 12, as we talked about too, is the, goals scored for and against when he's on the ice as well, which can sometimes be deceiving. So numbers aren't lying, he's still doing his job in the faceoff circle, but as we said, he's not going into the dirty areas and, he's not necessarily being that shutdown defensive line. Some nights they are, but some nights they're not. A little bit of inconsistency there. So hopefully he will get better, as you talked about. And, you also mentioned Perry too. And that was another question we had is Lauren asked us, do we think Perry's return, which is also on the horizon, he should be back hopefully in the end of January, maybe the beginning of February, it looks like they're talking about, because he has been working out, but, not to the point of anywhere near obviously playing at the moment. But she asked, when he comes back from his knee injury, do we think that he'll have some kind of big return like Teemu? And I really hope so. I hope he does. Like we said, it's going to be coming up soon here in the next couple of months, and we'll get to see him. And I think he will. If he can come out and everything goes good with the knee surgery and he doesn't rush it back too soon, I mean, that's really only my concern, Eddie. What do you think about Perry and, getting back on the ice here, in the new year?
I think he will. I think he'll have that motivation, that spark, and he'll come back at 100% this time. Obviously, Perry hasn't been Perry, and I'm pretty sure he knows what's going on. He knows all the criticism he's been getting. He's probably goes online and sees the article. I can't imagine that these players don't, look at social media or look at what's going on with articles, especially in the days of social media that is thriving right now. I think once everything gets situated and he feels like 100% and comes back, I think he'll be a big factor and he'll be that same Perry we know. And we'll see a different Perry than we're used to. We'll see that old school Perry, that scored the 50 goals. I mean, is he going to get 50 goals this season? Most likely not. If he does, that'd be great. Definitely be great scoring 50 goals in a span of a few weeks. But I mean, he should be a factor for the Ducks, and he'll lift the Ducks up and get some goals, and he'll make his presence known. I'm pretty sure all the other teams are going to be pissed off. Seattle, you'll be pissed off in a few years when you come in the league to know Perry the way he plays. But I can see him, having that same success that Timo did when after he had his surgery, he just came back and played the game that he loves at the level that he knows he can play. So I'm really looking forward to Perry coming back. I've said it in our previous shows before the season started. I was thinking Perry was going to have a pretty good season. Was it a career season? I wasn't sure, but I knew he was going to have a bigger impact and a bigger, like his play was going to be bigger this season. It was. Unfortunately, he had that injury, and that took him out for, pretty much most of the season now. But yeah, when he comes back, I would look for Perry. If you don't have him on fantasy, I would add him right away because I think he's going to put up some numbers, come those few weeks when he's playing. And when we make the playoffs, he'll be a factor in that too as well.
And I think it's going to be huge. I mean, both these guys, if Perry can come back and be on fire, I think it's going to, help the Ducks down the stretch. And if Kesler can pick up his, offensive game, playing, I think those will be the things that the Ducks will, look to do to get going. I think, the timing too with the trade deadline coming up, it'll be interesting. We did talk about some of those players in the previous show, the last one, actually, if you want to listen to that, we'll talk about some more as that, gets closer maybe towards the end of January or so. At the beginning of February, we'll kind of go into it more, especially as, the team unfolds and see, where things are at that point in time. Still a little bit early. But yeah, the Ducks definitely miss Perry. I think he'll come out and I think he'll play good. And, that'll be a big plus for the Ducks. I think another thing too is, on this road trip, they're without Rickard Rakell as well. And like we said, he hasn't been having quite the season that we wanted to. The Ducks need to get him back, get him going. And the Ducks were also without Cam Fowler as well on this road trip. So, the Ducks did go 2-3-0. But, I think they could have at least, had a winning road trip. But, all these guys out and they're still hanging in there in the playoff spot and whatnot. I think, it's still things to be hopeful for. Yeah, they didn't play great in the last couple games, ended up losing. But if we get some of these guys back, also Patrick Eaves as well, you all know that he's out with the back spasms and the rib injury too. So you have a handful of guys. The Ducks get back just a couple of these guys. I'm pretty positive. I think that this team can make a pretty solid push, Eddie. I mean, they're hanging around here between second and third in the Pacific Division, and I think as long as they can do that for the next couple of months, and then turn it on when they get some of these guys back, I look for a strong finish from Anaheim.
Yeah, same here. I'm looking forward to that too as well, especially getting it, everyone healthy, everyone back, all the chemistry flowing again. Hopefully, Patrick Eaves too comes back. I think he will be a factor and just with the chemistry as well. Perry, I'm looking forward to. I'm just looking forward to the playoffs and what we can bring in, just getting there as well. I don't want to just have a game to be inconsistent from here on out. I don't want the Ducks to win games, because of Gibson only, or them play, 30 minutes, 25 minutes of the game, of a 60-minute game. I want to see improvement from the team as well overall. I want, defensive core to improve. I want the offensive core. I think we're setting a goaltending. I mean, if Gibson can improve in any way, it's even better for everyone. I just want the Ducks to just touch on those little things that they have to do with, controlling the puck more, not chasing and not giving the other team space and not letting them crowd the net and just get into those deep zones and fight for the puck and be that hard-nosed, a.k.a. dirty Ducks, like a lot of the other teams want to call us in the league. I just want to see that again. I think that's going to bring success when we make the playoffs, and it's going to just create hell for other teams, and that's exactly what we want to do.
Yeah, I agree, and we did see that in that last second half and the last period of that game against Buffalo too. They were going all over the place, and like you said, out shooting them and just didn't get the breaks. So, I still think that they can do that. And in this road trip, really only the one out of the 5 games, the Boston game was the one that they played terrible. So I still think they're on the right pace. And we'll kind of shift gears here, and we got a couple other little things we'll cover before we wrap up the show. But we'll talk about some of the younger Ducks too. They're having the IIHF World Juniors is coming up here. They're doing the pre-tournament games and then the tournament as well. And Comtois was obviously sent down to the minors, but then he's also playing for Team Canada. He's been lighting up. He's got 3 goals and 2 assists in 2 games already. You've also got Lundstrom and Eriksson Ek with Team Sweden as well, and then Dostal with the Czech team. So you got 4 other guys playing in that tournament. It's something to look for. I think the funny part of this was the tweet by Corbinian Holzer, Eddie. The IIHF was talking about their new checking rule, and they had an interesting video, I guess, they put out where, I don't know. What did you think, Eddie? It seems, when Holzer talked about flag hockey for this tournament, it seems like a love tap now in this tournament. It's going to be a 2-minute penalty.
I personally, and I've voiced my opinion so many times, I think it's absolutely disgusting to see that. This is hard hockey, hard-hitting hockey, and I think things like this, they screw with the integrity of the game. I don't know what's going on with the league, how the fighting's decreased, the hard-hitting has, every big hit is suspension worthy, and the league's taking a look at it. And I don't know where the league's going. And I mean, now you're saying that, if they have the puck, you can't just, you can't hit them anymore once they get rid of it in that split second. I mean, hockey's a fast game, the fastest game on earth. And you want to change the rules and make it, like you're playing beer league or flag hockey. I mean, what next? You're going to just completely take out body checking out of the game. It's just, it's going nuts. And they're trying to prevent, they're just trying to change the game in a way I don't want to see. And it's sad because I love this game. I grew up watching it, and I mean, this game literally makes me breathe every morning. I first thing I do when I go to sleep is think about hockey or check highlights or any news of hockey. The first thing I do when I wake up is the same thing. I love this game, and to see it just getting tarnished and watered down because people can't accept the fact that that injuries are going to happen. I mean, I've talked about this before. I understand, and it sucks for those people that have the injuries, long-term injuries, and the head injuries, and all the stuff that resorts from that. But you guys are adults when you come in the game, and me personally, I would sacrifice my life and my head to have the opportunity to play in the NHL. If it's going to mess up my quality of life, after, then so be it. That's my personal choice because I love this game so much. But I don't know. I just think the people running this game, and I don't know what's going on, Mike. It frustrates me to see where this league is going and where it's trending down to, and then seeing that this new rule number 153 on their agenda, just you pass the puck and if you hit someone, it's a penalty. I mean, just you might as well take hitting out of hockey and then screw the game. I mean, then what next is go watch basketball if you have a problem with hockey and the way it is, or tennis, maybe, that'd be more of your liking. But I just think it's absolutely disgusting on where this game is trending, and things like that don't help the game. And you're just kind of spitting in the integrity of it. That's in my opinion.
No, I mean, you get a big amen from me on that. I understand. I mean, I get it. It's the World Junior Championship. You got these guys that are looking at these promising careers and whatnot, and you want to do these rules on the, to alleviate the injuries and whatnot. I totally get it. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's a little bit too much. I mean, you can look at the tweet and look at the video. Just go look at Corbinian Holzer's tweet. It's hilarious. But I mean, you can then, look at their tweet about the rules and whatnot. When you look at the very first video, I mean, I'm like, okay, you have to be kidding me right now. This is like a love tap, and that's a penalty. I'm like, okay, I get the whole thing with the the head contact stuff. I get that stuff. We're actually got some hits that we're going to talk about too right now. To finish up the show. So I totally get that part when you're trying to alleviate head contact, either whether it's an elbow or a shoulder, a stick, or, you're hitting somebody into the boards. That kind of stuff I get. But this other stuff, I don't know. And it's just disappointing. Like you said, Eddie, yeah, the league is gone away from it in certain things too. And now to see this in the junior thing, I get protecting players, but only to a point. And this is just kind of over the hill for me. So, but there were some other interesting plays, that happened this week too, Eddie, that we wanted to talk about. I think there's one hit you want to talk about that was just in the San Jose Kings game too, that you wanted to mention and kind of go over and see what we thought about that, because it's going to be a play that's going to be reviewed, and it's a one that involves, well, depends on the way you look at it. It may or may not involve some head contact.
Oh yeah, Eric Carlson of the San Jose Sharks took a quote unquote illegal check to the head on Kings forward Austin Wagner. I just don't see it as an illegal check. I mean, you're a rookie and you have your head down at the last moment of truth. What do you expect is going to happen? The contact's going to come to your head. I still see shoulder and shoulder, and even though it bothers me to agree with anything San Jose, it's a clean hit, and this is what I'm talking about, how the league is just getting watered down, and suspensions are, just being thrown out left and right like Oprah's giving away cars or something. I'm so confused. I mean, even in beer league, I took my head down and tried to cut inside the center, and my head was completely down, and I get leveled. I mean, that's my fault. Fortunately, I was playing with a guy that helped me up after. It rattled me for a little bit. There was no call on the play. They usually let things go, like when you play little higher divisions. But I mean, I didn't blame him, or I didn't say, "Oh, you hit me illegally." No, I did the wrong thing. Of rule, like the number one rule in hockey is, keep your head up. I don't think this is a bad hit at all. It's unfortunate, a player like Eric Carlson, who's not known at all to be dirty, is probably going to get suspended. Unfair. It's kind of an unjust thing. We go back to, remember Mike, Andrew Cogliano. We talked about him. He's still our Iron Man, and he would have had that, that streak still going officially if he didn't get that call. I mean, I can only imagine, like we were talking about earlier, if Andrew Cogliano took this hit, he'd probably have like 2 seasons off suspension. Who knows? It just, I don't agree with it. And like I said, it's trending down where the league is just, the integrity of the game is being jeopardized. And like I said, I would never, defend a San Jose player, and I would always want to say that they're wrong 110%. But I think, Eric Carlson didn't do anything wrong. He was playing the game that he knows how to play, the hard-nosed style he should be playing.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that play, I mean, the initial contact is shoulder to shoulder, and then it looks like on the follow-through, he makes contact with the Kings player's head afterwards, or maybe that was just the impact and whatnot from there. But I mean, to me, I don't like either team, so I don't, let them beat each other up, so that way that, the Ducks can come in and take them out. But aside from that, looking at just, the play, I don't know. I didn't really see it being, a severe head hit. It looked like he went to the shoulder, and then the shoulder might have glanced off the face a little bit afterwards, but it looked more like the impact with maybe the head coming forward to the shoulder in that check. You have to look at the video. There's a couple out there that are slowed down frame by frame, and obviously hockey's a fast game. It's hard to see it, all the time live on certain plays. But if you look at this one, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what the league does on this. But you're right. Overall, we've seen these kind of plays. And, we saw some with the Ducks, too, in these games. We saw Sprague get hit in that game against Boston. And, he was already going down. So there was no penalty called. I didn't think it was a dirty hit or anything like that. And, like we said, he got some stitches in the face, but he ended up being okay. But you see some of these things now, and it's tough, man, with this player safety and the way that they're doing things. Obviously we're all still not happy about the whole thing with Cogliano, and he still has the record in my book and Eddie's book, and I'm sure everyone else out there listening that's a Ducks fan, or even a hockey fan, I would think too. So some of these plays, though, I don't know, Eddie. It's difficult. They're starting to, like you said, they're going to get on it now and whatnot. If he ends up getting something, it'll be interesting to see. But then, there's other times we talked about plays that we've seen too with other players on other teams, and they get away with certain things and then nothing's called. So, it's just inconsistent. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's some inconsistency with certain players on certain teams that have done some things here and there recently too. And I think that's what makes it tough for this league. It makes the fans get upset.
Yeah, exactly. Just I wish it was more consistent. I obviously like less suspensions, of course, because some of the suspensions I've seen were kind of just weird. But I just want some more consistency. I think the Department of Player Safety. I think from the last 2 seasons, they're failing at their job, and something needs to could happen over there, and they need to reconstruct and have a different set of standards the way they do things. It seems certain players on certain plays will get away with more than another player on a different play. It's just too inconsistent. And I watch a lot of hockey. I'm a nerd, and I don't really have a life, so whatever game's on, I usually just put it on to watch it. And I see the same thing in games where and the refs too don't make the right calls on certain plays. But then I watch a Ducks game and they're calling that. I'm like, wait a minute, I just watched I just watched the Canadians and the Boston Bruins game, and they let that go, but now they're calling a Ducks player for that. Or hey, you know what? We got hit the same way, but then Department of Player Safety is taking a look at this and that. It's so inconsistent, and that's what gets really frustrating. For me as a fan too, and like you said, a lot of other fans probably feel the same way.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the players get to it too. That at some point you see different things happen, they get upset. So it's it's something that the players have had to adjust to. And like you said, it's been a little bit kinder, gentler type league as far as the hits and whatnot. Now we're seeing it in the World Junior Championships as well. So we're gonna wrap up the show. I mean, I hope you guys have a good, safe Christmas. Like we said, we're gonna have our watch party when the Ducks come back and play San Jose after the holiday break. Also, if you want to spend time with the Ducks on New Year's, you can join our Patreon website, patreon.com/DucksNPucks. We're going to give away a couple tickets to that home game against Tampa Bay on New Year's Eve. So look for that as well. So thank you for listening to the show. Happy holidays from Eddie and I, and let's go Ducks.